Alrighty. Well, I'm not going to wait too much longer, so let's jump right into it. Um, the purpose of today's meeting is just to go over the basics of setting up Fusion Anywhere and Fusion Anywhere accounts with your guys' Fusion there. It's going to be relatively quick. If you guys do have any questions, I just ask if you save those until the end, and then we'll, open up discussion, go over whatever you guys need, unless it pertains to one of the other meetings. Then I will pass that off until we hit that meeting point. But I'm just gonna share my screen. Yeah. So, with Fusion Anywhere, we both need to get Fusion itself set up and a Fusion Anywhere account created in order to get those two communicating with each other. In Fusion itself, underneath Fusion Admin Setup and Preferences, you'll see that there is a new Fusion Anywhere tab. This is just where we're gonna check this box off in order to say, yeah, we want our server to connect to the Fusion Anywhere server. And then once that's done there, we can test our connection, and it's either going to work or it's going to say something that it's not working. So that's the only real reason for this window right here. Um, Once we have that connection in place, just going to jump back to our internet here. We're going to go to fusionanywhere.com to create a Fusion Anywhere account. To create a Fusion Anywhere account, simply hit the sign up button, put in your name, put in a phone number, and then an email address. I'm just going to use a temporary email address as my one is already connected to Fusion Anywhere, and then a password. And I do apologize that it has to be 15 digits long, but that is the most secure length that we would want to cut off at. Um, I can't really go into the details of why it's most secure. That's mostly Canon's idea there. It's something between being able to crack it in 3 days or 13 billion years. I don't remember off the top of my head. So I'll just put in a password here. Accept the terms and conditions. If you want, you can read the terms and conditions. I'm not going to go through that right now. And then hit sign up. So when you hit sign up, it's going to send an email verification code to your email looking something like this. Going to give you a 4-digit verification number. So we're going to enter that 4-digit verification number in here, verify, and now we have a Fusion Anywhere account. You'll notice that we aren't currently connected to any Fusion servers, so that's what we're going to do next. What we need from here first off, though, is this 9-digit number. This is your Fusion Anywhere ID. So once you have your Fusion Anywhere ID either written down or copied, we can jump back into Fusion, go over to our users, list our users, find the correct user that we're connecting with Fusion Anywhere, hit our Fusion Anywhere connection button, choose what locations we want this user to be able to see information, hit connect again, enter our ID. We'll send over another email verification. As you see here, we should get another one. Just the same as before. It could be a 4-letter or a 4-number code. Enter that code. We're going to verify that and hit connect. Once everything looks good here, we'll hit save. It's yelling at me because I don't have an email in there. And now if we go back to our Fusion Anywhere webpage or on your phone, we can refresh and we have that connection to the server. And you can see what all we're connected to here. That is the very basics of getting a Fusion Anywhere account created and connected with your guys' Fusion. One thing that I did forget to mention is that when setting up your account, we recommend using a personalized email, not a company email, because your Fusion Anywhere account can follow you to other Fusion locations. So if you, um, switch jobs, go to another feed yard that has Fusion, your Fusion Anywhere account can follow you to that location. If you do have users for Fusion Anywhere that no longer work for you, and you want to disconnect their access to Fusion Anywhere, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. First is by simply selecting that the user is no longer current. We can save that, and if we go back into Fusion Anywhere, and if I refresh here, we now say that we're not connected. The other option is to click on the Fusion Anywhere Connections button at the bottom and hit disconnect. Save that. And again, we're not connected to Fusion Anywhere. At the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you'll see your name and your Fusion Anywhere account number. We click on there, we can go into our user settings. This is where we can edit our name, say if it's incorrect, your phone number, your email, and your password as well. The only thing that you can't edit is your Fusion Anywhere number. I tried to get Canon to let me be number 1, but he wouldn't let me do that. And then we can also set up a default location. That is, the briefest way that I could explain all of this to you guys. We're not going to jump into what we can see in Fusion Anywhere in this meeting. We're going to do that next week, or the other functionalities that we can do. And for you late joiners, we're going to post this video as well onto our, we're going to post the video and we'll send you guys a link so that you can go over it since Ruby came in late there. But yeah, that is the basics there. Let's see if there's any questions, and then we will go from there. For those who are currently using Fusion Anywhere and adding users, have you guys experienced any troubles adding new users to your accounts, or any problems getting people connected up with the Fusion Anywhere account in general? We will go over one more thing that I forgot to look at. If you guys are having issues with Fusion Anywhere connectivity, there's a window that we can see what the connectivity status of Fusion Anywhere is. And that, again, is back in Fusion itself. Under Fusion Admin and Utilities, we have the Fusion Anywhere status window. If you click in that, it's going to show a whole bunch of text like this. The most important thing is at the top with this big old checkbox. If this is an X, you're not connected. If it's checkbox, you're all good there. And if there are some problems that we can't quite explain, you do have the ability to restart the connection. This will just try to, fix those issues. If I click that right now, you can see we got a message saying it's going to take about 30 seconds. We've disconnected from Fusion Anywhere itself. There we go. And we're connected again. And if you see a history of connections and disconnects, this is where you're going to see that. Yeah, no questions there. We'll jump into our group permissions window. You'll notice for those who have been using Fusion Anywhere, people have already set up. In our group permissions at the bottom, we have Fusion Anywhere permissions. So being able to basically do what you guys do in Fusion and set up all of your different permission groups to be able to view different things as well in Fusion Anywhere. So your feed guys can just look at the feed. Your cowboys can just do all their cowboy stuff. And then admins doing whatever they need to do, fully customizable as it should be.
If for some reason it's just not working, do you recommend like uninstalling and reinstalling it back in, or what's the first kind of like reset that you would recommend?
Not working in what sense? Like you can't connect to the Fusion server, you can't even log into Fusion Anywhere.
Yeah, like can't log into Fusion Anywhere. You try and set someone up and it's not working.
My first idea would be to, close the browser that you guys are using, reopen that, and see if that works. If that doesn't work, you can clear the browser's cache. If that doesn't work again, try using a different browser. I know that I've had some intermittent issues with like Google Chrome. I have no idea why. Like it worked perfectly fine for me today, but yeah, I would, just refresh, try that. If that doesn't work, clear the cache. If that doesn't work, you can try a different browser. It should work on every all the browsers that I know of. But if it's a problem with the connection to Fusion itself, that's when you would go back into that Fusion Anywhere status window and see what's going on in here.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All righty. Well, thank you guys for jumping on the call with us. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or you want to get set up with Fusion, you can give me a call or shoot me an email there. Oh,
Just one last thing, if I may, Ben, before you close the meeting down. Thanks for doing that. Just a reminder that so this was probably our shortest training. We just something to get everyone up and going. There are a few more training sessions. Hopefully, if you haven't signed up already, and if you're interested, you can do that from the email we sent out a couple of weeks ago. Next Tuesday, it's called Working in Fusion Anywhere, and where Ben and Sri Devi together will spend. I suspect that one's going to take most of the hour, 45 minutes to 60 minutes, and go into a lot of detail into how all the screens in Fusion work. Sorry, I got the wrong one. That's Exploring Data in Fusion Anywhere. Then the following week, there's one called Working in Fusion Anywhere. That one probably won't be as long, but I'm sure there'll still be a lot of depth there and probably at least 30 minutes, if not a little longer. And then 3 weeks from now, there is one called Experimenting with AI in Fusion. And hopefully that's what I'll be teaching that one. Hopefully that will prove interesting for any of you who are playing around or experimenting with AI. So if you haven't seen that email, look for that. We might send it out again. Maybe you can help me remember to do that, Ben, for anyone who wants to get a link for that. So that's it.
all right. Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye now.